Salam jumpa pemirsa televisi edukasi dimanapun Anda berada. Senang sekali saya Nyemang Widianggreni dapat hadir kembali menjumpai Anda dalam Gelar Wicara khusus ISODEL 2018. Berbeda dengan sebelumnya, konsep pelaksanaan ISODEL tahun ini menggabungkan 3 format acara, yaitu simposium, workshop, dan pameran. Dengan demikian diharapkan para peserta dapat mendalami lebih detail tentang keahlian TIK yang dibutuhkan untuk menyambut era revolusi 4.0. Saat ini saya sudah bersama dengan Don Carlson, Director of Education Microsoft Asia-Pasifik. Welcome.
Okay.
Dan kita akan membahas mengenai Education Transformation, Fact or Fiction. So, Mr. Don, based on your paper, what do you mean about education transformation?
Good question. What is education transformation? I think when we look at education transformation and what it means, we have to look at things holistically. We have to understand how do all the different components of education match together, how do we address them, and how do we address them in partnership of so much of what's going on. So when we think of education transformation, we can talk about technology, you can talk about people, you can talk about industry, you can talk about certifications, but you have to think holistically on how it fits. And I think the critical piece of education transformation, as in any transformation, is it's about people. In order to be effective in any transformation, I think we need to focus on people, and that means we really need to focus on the educators. We need to focus on the educators, we need to focus on the school leaders. Because if they're not comfortable with what's happening as part of this transformation, it won't trickle down to the classroom. And we need to make sure that the teachers are embracing this change that's happening. Now, when you look at what change is happening, what do we see that's happening? What's the change that's happening? And people immediately talk about the technology. I think what we have to do is be careful about leading with technology, because it's not about the technology. It's about the outcomes we're trying to achieve, which really isn't a lot different from what we've been trying to do for the last 20, 30 years. We're trying to achieve the same outcomes for the students. We want to make sure that students are staying in school longer. We need to find a way to excite them about education, and we could do that through technology. I have so many teachers ask me that say, oh, I have a new 3D printer, what do I want, what should I do with it? It depends. What outcomes are you trying to achieve? And I think those are the sort of things we need to consider and continue to focus on. What are the outcomes? And then see how the technology can enable that. And I think that's a key part of the transformation that's happening right now. When you look at industry and transformation, what's changing in industry at the moment? There's so much that's changing in the manufacturing industry. We've seen that. We've seen Foxconn as a company in China that has 110,000 people in the workforce. They've replaced 60,000 with robots. So a lot is changing in the industry, and how are we preparing these students for this education or this transformation that's happening? And I think that's the piece that we have to be critical of, is understand what's going on in the industry and preparing students for jobs that don't exist in the future.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about. And do you think Asia-Pacific, especially Indonesia, will be ready in facing this educational transformation?
I think all countries will need to be prepared for the transformation that's coming. I think the key out of this is how quickly can they adopt? How quickly can they change? And that's, again, no single entity can do that. That has to be in partnership with government, with industry, with technology, with government agencies. And I think working together, I think collectively, it enables more to happen. I think more quickly. When you look at maybe where the starting point is, if you start implementing projects more seamlessly over time, you might see this leapfrog effect. You might see that you don't have a lot of infrastructure maybe in some of these countries that allows you to leapfrog over, and you don't have to replace a lot. So I think, you know, embracing that change is one thing. And then in partnership with multiple organizations, being able to understand how the change can happen, including technology, including teacher training programs, school leadership programs, putting that in place and being accepted by the educators, I think that will help accelerate it. And that will help. I think, improve the outcomes that we're trying to achieve.
So how important is this education and transformation right now?
How important is it? That's a good question. I think when you look at it, I think we're at a point now where it's never been more important. And it's not from an education perspective, it's from a country competitiveness perspective. You have countries in the region and ministries that are saying, I want to be a net supplier of data scientists in the region. And they're investing heavily. They're going to be producing 20,000 data scientists, data professionals in the region. They're putting in programs, they're working with universities to do that. They see that as a competitive advantage. If we don't do that inside a country like Indonesia, we're going to be left behind. Not from an education perspective, but from a competitiveness in a country perspective, from a societal perspective. And that we can't have. And I think because of the speed of change that's happening now, it's even more imperative and more important that we're embracing the change that's happening. And again, technology can be an enabler of that. It can help accelerate that with the right solutions, with the right focus. But we should never lead with the technology. So right now, more important than ever to embrace the change that's happening today.
Yes, okay. So we're going to have a small break. Baik pemirsa, tetap bersama kami akan kembali setelah jeda berikut ini.